My name is Tomasio Burton, and I am a pediatric psychologist. I really had no idea that I wanted to be a pediatric psychologist when I started out on my path. I knew that I really enjoyed working with children, and I really knew that I was interested in health disparities. But when it came to actually putting a name to what it is that I wanted to do professionally, I didn't know. Over the years of my graduate school training, I started to learn more and more about how we can focus in the field of psychology and specifically in the field of clinical psychology. And it wasn't until I was almost done with my PhD that I even learned about the term pediatric psychology. Once I figured that out, I knew that I was in the right place.
So, how did I get here? And some of the hardest things and most successful things about being a pediatric psychologist. So, I am a Black woman, Nigerian immigrant, and psychology was not big in Nigeria before I immigrated here. But I took a child psychology class. I fell in love with learning about kids and the mental health needs of kids. And in graduate school, I learned about pediatric psychology. So what I do now is I work at a university as a pediatric psychologist. I do research, learning about kids and their health and mental health. And specifically, I'm interested in health equity, which is why do some kids have more health conditions than other kids, and trying to understand that relationship. So as an associate professor at a university, what I do now is I develop and train other pediatric psychologists. So I mentor students to become pediatric psychologists, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. And I will say the thing that helped me be most successful was definitely mentorship. I've been very lucky to have some amazing mentors throughout my career, and they really helped me think about how I can put my identity into the work that I do. Because prior to that kind of mentorship, I didn't realize that bringing my culture and my identity and the things that are important to me, that those things were important to put into the type of research, the type of training, the type of mentorship that I do. And seeing that modeled for me really helped me understand that your culture is really part of what makes pediatric psychology your own. So everybody does their pediatric psychology differently. And I think a big part of what makes it your own is by putting your culture and your identity into it. So as a Black woman immigrant, when I think of a question, I think about how might this impact immigrant communities? How might this impact Black youth and families? How might this impact women? I think about all these different identities and really trying to understand how the type of program I'm developing, the type of assessment tools or questions I'm asking. I try to think about the type of students I'm mentoring and how do their own identities, those that are visible and non-visible, how do those affect their view of the world, the type of thoughts, behaviors, the decisions they make to take medicine or not, the decisions they make to communicate with their providers or trust their providers. I really think about how do kids' identities and the family's identity and their stories, how do those affect their health and well-being?
My name is Dr. Cecilia Belray. I am a pediatric psychologist. I'm also an associate professor of health psychology at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. So what do? I am a non-practitioner, which means I don't do one-on-one therapy. Instead, I do research into children's health issues. I focus on children living with sickle cell disease and their families, thinking about how do you adjust to that illness. Now, sickle cell disease is a disease seen primarily in people of African descent and also seen in people of Latino descent. And so a large part of what I do is gather information from those communities, individuals living with sickle cell disease, and help to translate their experience, their symptoms, to healthcare providers so that we can develop better programs, better interventions, and ones that are going to work for their real lives. So that's a part of the research that I do. The other part of what I do is focused on understanding pain and sleep as two important issues for Black youth. Thinking about how is Black youth, when Black youth experience pain, how are their pain experiences, how do people react to their pain experiences? How do we develop better programs for addressing pain for Black youth that actually takes into account their family, their culture, their environment, and their access to resources so that they don't end up going into adulthood experiencing both pain and the impact of pain on their lives? And I think about the same things in relation to sleep. How do we promote proper sleep? Sleep is related to almost every health risk outcome that people have, the development of heart disease, cardiovascular disease. How do we make sure that everybody is able to have good quality sleep and therefore is able to have good quality overall health? So what are the other things that I do? I also do research. Well, of course I do research. I also do teaching. I teach health psychology to people at my university who want to work with individuals with health issues, particularly children with health issues. So people who want to be healthcare providers, such as in future MDs, physical therapists, nurses, the whole range, so that they can have a better understanding of how emotions and behavior play into health and health decisions. I would say I didn't always envision myself being a pediatric psychologist, but I definitely knew when I was in college that I had an interest in working with kids. I wanted to make their lives better. And I particularly had an interest in working with Black kids. Growing up Black myself, I knew that it was sometimes difficult to have all of my health needs addressed. And I wanted to do something about that. And so I actually started off in a lab focused on kids with sickle cell disease to get some experience. And that really led to me talking more with the families, talking more with the kids, and really getting incredibly excited about those families, that work, seeing how, for me, I grew up within a strong Black family and how much that helps support me in being successful. I wanted the same thing. How can I bolster families? How can I help it so that children can be successful so they can live full, healthy lives, even with disease? And I think that's an important part of pediatric psychology, is that you don't lose the person, you don't lose the child based upon the fact that they have a disease. This is not, a sickle cell patient. This is a child with sickle cell disease who is eventually going to be an adolescent with sickle cell disease and an adult with sickle cell disease. But at the cornerstone, they are a person with feelings and goals who are trying to achieve everything in their lives. And how can we in healthcare be better about helping that happen? A large part of what's helped me be successful in my work is not losing track of the work or losing track of what the goals of what I'm trying to do are, which are to educate healthcare providers, to work with children and families. When I keep that at the forefront, it keeps me going. It's a part of my goals, my passion, to make an impact on my community. And I feel like if I keep doing that, then it helps me be successful. The other part is just working with amazing people who all have different specialties. I work a lot with MDs, with nurses, with social workers, with people with different types of training who all have amazing perspectives and expertise. And we all share the same passion to actually improve the healthcare of kids with sickle cell disease and kids who experience pain or sleep problems. And I think that definitely keeps me going, being part of a larger team with large goals.
I work in a children's hospital, and I am primarily in clinical practice. And so my medical specialty is obesity. So I work with youth and their families who have obesity and who are working on becoming healthier. I also do a lot of service and advocacy work, both for individuals who have obesity, so speaking out on weight bias and weight-based discrimination, as well as advocacy for health equity.